I got a little pink.
Hi guys, welcome. We're just putting on lipstick over here.
Don't mind
Kat's
us.
putting on her gloss. I'm putting. If you guys have seen, I got my hair cut too short, and so I am now committed to eyeliner and red lipstick until my bangs grow a little bit more.
But you are working it for real.
Thanks. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take out my earrings too because they click against the headphones. So I am back with Kat from Moms Off the Record in our series of generational parenting, how things have changed. I am a square Gen Xer. Actually, I think I might be a little bit older Gen Xer. So I am 1968 and Kat is square millennial. And we are
Yes.
comparing generational things from like I was raised by boomers. My grandmother was Depression era. So that's my perspective. And Kat's obviously is her perspective.
Yes, my mom is the oldest Gen X, so she's
Okay.
right on the cusp of boomer and Gen X.
Okay.
My dad is a boomer, so my dad is 59 and my mom is 65.
Okay. 59 though isn't a boomer.
Yeah. Well, I thought boomer goes all the way to 64 and then Gen X starts at 65.
I think it's years.
Oh, I meant 1959.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think because I'm like, I'm
1959.
57. I'm always
Oh, yeah. No. My dad's not that young. No, he is. He's going to be 68, 67, 67.
okay.
I can't do math.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we wanted to talk today. We were talking offline and we wanted a little plan today. So Kat, why don't you
Yeah.
lead with this because you're a millennial mom, but also you are an OCRAP potty training consultant.
Yeah.
And you just led a workshop, I believe, that was a little shocking and eye-opening.
Yeah. Yes,
To
it
what you were
was.
hearing and what parents were expressing. So why don't you jump in and I'll add.
Okay. Yes. So, as someone who was born in 1990, and I'll just say for any of your millennial listeners out there who are hearing this, you might have been lied to like me, which was, and it's from a place of good intentions, which is you must not just be good enough, but you must be the best at whatever it is you're going to do. And ideally, you're going to be a businesswoman or, back in the day, it used to be doctor, lawyer, businesswoman, or like doctor, nurse, businesswoman. That's when my mom was growing up. But then for my generation, it was like, you got to be this entrepreneur, found your own company. But here's the kicker. They didn't tell you when they're telling you these things in school and at home that, by the way, having a child and also taking care of a home, those are two other full-time jobs. So that was like the side note. They didn't tell you that you and your spouse are going to have to figure out what kind of sacrifices are you going to make. Are you okay with actually putting your career on hold to stay at home for the first few years and then return to your career? Which, by the way, because I'm moving to Sweden in around August, this is very normal. They're currently doing this in Europe. Women take tons of maternity leaves back to back to back. And there's no talks about like, oh my gosh, like my career is going to be on hold for years. This is normalized. This is very much uniquely a United States issue from my point of view. So let me tell you about the potty training workshop because this all ties in.
Let me ask you a couple questions first.
Yeah.
So where do you think, okay, so in my generation, we had an ad for a perfume called Anjali. I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and never let you forget you're a man because I'm a woman. So right there, I can bring home the bacon. I can cook, intimating I have kids, and never let you forget you're a man. So we got inundated with that shit. But now, what do you think changed? Because the entrepreneur, I've always been an entrepreneur because I'm a pain in the ass and can't possibly work for another person.
Which I get now because I haven't worked for another person in 4 years. And now I'm like, I got to do my own thing. So I get that. Yeah.
Do you think this was like Boss Babe? Do you think there was an uptick? So like social media, was that fueling it in maybe the early 2000s? Like what do you think changed? How do you think millennials were particularly targeted at you have to be the best and you have to be unique and you have to?
I think it could have been compounding factors, but from my experience, it was already by that point in the 90s, it was very normal for mothers and women to be at work full-time in some capacity. Mm-hmm. And as parents, we always want something better for our kids. So like, for example, the rhetoric my mom was given growing up in the 70s and 80s was, well, you're a woman, you want to be a mom, but like, here are your options. My parents literally told her, because my mom's like, I love cooking. I want to be a chef, like a professional chef. They're like,
Mhm.
that's cute, honey. You can cook for fun, but that's, not very stable. You can be a nurse, you can be a secretary, you can be a
Okay.
nurse or a doctor, whatever. So she's like, okay, I guess I'll be a nurse. And it's because, well, I like taking care of people and there's flexibility. I can also be at home with my kids. You get the best of both worlds.
Sure.
So now fast forward to my
Let me just
generation.
interrupt you one
Oh, yeah.
second. So when I wanted to be a mom, ever since I
Yeah.
was like 3 years old, if you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I wanted to be a mom. My
Yeah.
mom was we still had secretarial schools. When I was a kid,
Wow.
yeah, when I went to high school, and my mother was so nervous that I was gonna go get knocked up really young, because that's all I wanted to be was a mom, that she was like, "I don't think you should go to college. I think you should go to secretarial school and, like, just get in and out and
Wow.
get, like, a stable job." So that was
Yes.
still a thing when I was graduating high school.
That's fascinating. Right. And so then we're seeing these little cultural shifts, generation after generation, where so basically you can cast a wider net. It's not just these three stereotypical career options
Right.
now. Now in the 90s, so we had the age of the internet. We had the dot-com boom. With the internet comes a lot more opportunity. And also it was very normal and easy to get on a plane and travel. So depending on where you grew up and your socioeconomic status, it might be like, oh, I want you to work for the UN, or you should go travel abroad, be a teacher, yada, yada, yada. So I think maybe just the age of the internet definitely played a role in this.
Okay, yeah.
I think,
No, I think you nailed it though with like our options were less than. And
yeah,
so if our options were secretary and nurse, and remember, women couldn't get credit cards till late 70s. So you were
yes,
tied financially to a man, and those were your only options. And so once women could sign their own mortgages, once they got credit, once, whatever wave of feminism that is, um, then it was be better. Yeah, then it was like, what else can we
yes,
do? And I think a really interesting thing you and I were talking about is we we get very skewed right now. I am personally sick of hearing from people online, I work,
we all
moms
work.
work. And I was like, yeah, no shit. Like, moms have worked forever.
Yes,
The working class, the working poor, and the middle class, moms have always worked. So you are not special. And I did a deep dive, because I was like, everybody thinks that like moms stayed home with their kids luxuriously, not, till like 2020, when all of a sudden,
right.
no, and then, so I think it's really funny, because as I did a deep dive, 50s and 60s, 70% of moms stayed home. Yeah.
Yes,
From 1970 to 1975, 75% of moms worked outside the home. So you are not the first generation to work, number one,
oh,
right?
for
But I
sure.
thought that was really interesting too. So, like, there was, because of that, because of, is that second wave feminism? I lose track. But so whoever, I'm thankful for all the women who got us credit cards and all the women's rights. Yes.
Basic human rights,
Right.
basic, right?
And so I think that's telling, though, in the 70s, that's when moms really got out of the workforce. And I think that was the rhetoric. That was that
Yes,
commercial, which you can do everything. So I think you guys as millennials, it kind of came into we started it as Gen X. It was in the 70s and 80s, but I think it hit critical mass in the 90s. Now we have the internet. Now we have options. Like you
yes.
said, travel, which I think travel has fucked up parenting so much. We used to
Oh
not
yeah,
travel. We went to the next state over to a swimming hole for vacation. The idea now that you have to
yes,
bring your kid to Italy, and you have to bring your kid to this, that, and the other place, right? So
yes,
it's created another expectation. But like you said, now you can go get a job somewhere else. Now you're not close to your family. You ditch the village
yes.
for a better situation.
I want to talk about that. So it was very much a part of my upbringing. Like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you could be like, because I was actually a French major and I studied French throughout my whole life. And I love to teach. So at one point, I genuinely thought, I know, I'll go ahead and get my PhD and just become a French professor. Like I was already a French major at NYU. It's wild, like how many different career turns I took.
Hmm.
So my mom was like, "Oh, wouldn't it be a dream? You could either work at the UN or you could be a French professor or you can go live and work in France." Now, let's just you go with that. Let's just say I did that. Okay, well now I'm detached from my village, my family.
Hmm.
And then how is that going to affect my mental state as I'm choosing to have, children? Okay, I'm going to have a manufactured village, which is okay, of like non-family members, the
Hmm.
costs of having to go back and forth. These are all the things, all the caveats that our parents weren't really telling us. And I'm not saying like, oh, we should play victim and like put all the blame on them. We do need to take responsibility here. There's a lot of like learning as we go, and like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Even in my situation
I
of
don't think they thought of it too. That's why I
no,
don't think we blame them. I think they, like, every parent wants better, right? My
yes,
mom was in an abusive relationship. My mom was the nightmare story. Housewife, married at 18, right? Three kids at 22 years old, her own house, three kids, abusive husband. And then he didn't give child support. He ditched, like, and so she had to find work, get a skill, right? And so obviously she wants me to have my own money. Obviously she wants me to get a
yes,
good job. Obviously, go have fun, go do the things I couldn't do. I moved to San Francisco when I was 20,
that's
and she was
amazing.
like, go. She didn't,
Yeah.
and it wasn't any sort of like, you're going to be screwed. She didn't think of the ramifications. They didn't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
It's so true. It's such uncharted territory. So we can't blame them. We also shouldn't blame ourselves. Like nobody really knew. But I think about the movie. Did you ever see Mona Lisa Smile?
I've seen clips, and it's so funny because I almost watched it last night. That is so funny
Oh
because I've seen
wow.
clips about it, and I've seen like the synopsis. So yeah.
Yeah, so like 1950s, and these are women who are going to one of the best schools. It's an all women's college, and the teacher's Julia Roberts, and Kirsten Dunst is one of the women, and she's deciding to take a more traditional path. So even though she's very intelligent, she's at one of the best colleges in the country. She wants to, admittedly, be just a stay-at-home mom or a housewife.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then you see like all the other women are clearly judging and like looking down on that decision, like, what a waste of your ambition and talents. Like basically wasted potential
Mhm.
is the insinuation there. And Julia Roberts is, kind of admonishing her, like, how could you do this? Like you're giving it all up for what? Right? Almost like we're going back in time in a bad way instead of
Mhm.
being progressive. But actually, and so I remember in 2002 when the movie came out, I saw the movie with my mom. And I remember even being in seventh grade, like having a judgment, having an
Sure.
opinion towards Kirsten Dunst. Because I went to a college prep school and I was like, oh my God, she's like, wasting all of her talent. She's not going to do anything with this
Right.
education, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Now, as a 35-year-old woman, a mom of two toddlers, I'm like, no, you are doing the important work. You are doing such important work. And there's a lot of ways which we unfortunately cannot be as present or engaged with our kids if we are also expected to work full time outside of the home. Um, this leads me to just some interesting observations and tough conversations I had with some of the moms I was helping in a recent potty training workshop. We're big picture zooming out. In this mini series, we're talking about like why has parenting become harder for our
Mhm.
generation as millennials? Why is there so much mom burnout? I think I can pinpoint a few reasons. And again, these are all compounding factors. So, moms are having kids.
Let me just
Oh,
interrupt you
yeah.
for one
Yeah,
second.
yeah.
So for anyone listening, what we're going to do in typical my Jamie fashion is we're going to lay out the problem. So you
Yeah.
have to be able to hear the problem without getting defensive, without getting hurt. Don't be butthurt. We're laying out the problem as we see it, and then we're going to talk about ways that we think it can be eased. Not we
Yes.
can't fix, I can't fix everything, but so yeah, so some of the I think some of the problem will you might have a knee jerk reaction to because it's like yeah but
Yes.
hang tight.
Yes.
We've got to name it without it with no shame or guilt
Yes.
because otherwise we can't do anything about it. We're just belly aching. Yeah.
Agree. And this is not about pointing fingers at individual moms. This is about actually bringing it up way higher and talking about systemic and cultural issues,
Right.
the
Right.
programming that we've been fed. Okay, so I am seeing moms who are in the C suite. Okay. And again, I just think about
C
how
suite.
like CEO, CFO, like chief
Mm.
executive officers, like, so they're in the C
Oh,
suite
okay.
of a corporation,
Gotcha.
the highest of the high, the
Okay.
ultimate decision makers. They are making bank at these companies. And that's
Okay.
awesome. That's wonderful that you can contribute to your family in that way. We must always ask ourselves, at what cost? So, no doubt their homes are gorgeous and huge. No doubt they have multiple cars, probably the newest versions, and they could, I'm sure, buy their cars outright.
Hmm.
No doubt they have like a big pool. This is all great, but we must step back and ask, is this what's required for us to have a fulfilling and happy, healthy, connected family life, family unit. And I think there's a difference between happiness and contentment. I
Mhm.
think we need to strive for being content. We don't have to be just exuberant all the time. And you can be content with a smaller home. I'd argue more content with a smaller home. Mo money, mo problems, right? So basically, these moms
Well,
are
it's the myth of dual
older.
income.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
the
yeah.
documented myth of dual income, which is 90% of somebody else's income. The lifestyle spread happens.
Yes. Lifestyle
And
inflation.
now like all of a sudden you need more. You
Hmm.
do need the bigger house. You do need, more vacation because you're burnt out, you know what I mean?
Yes, you
Yeah.
need more than one car because if you both are working outside of the home in
Sure,
different
yeah.
places, some families have 3 cars, right? Okay, so then that's what actually, it might, here's the irony. It seems like freedom, right? Okay, so you have 2 parents who are making upper 6 figures. We
Mhm.
think more money equals more freedom. Those are corporate shackles. If you are working so hard that now you have to pay for more vacations to escape your burnout and to escape your work life, you need more cars, you need more house, then you need more housekeepers to maintain the home. That's
More
just,
people
you're
to care for
shackled.
your child.
You're,
Right,
you're in
right.
corporate shackles. That's not actual sovereignty. So how can we break free from that? Really, so going back to this, workshop, the observations I had, we have an epidemic of older moms. And look, to some, I'm an older mom. I'm 35. But that's average and normal nowadays. Maybe 30 years ago, I'd be an older mom. Older moms having kids at later ages for whatever reason, who are simultaneously taking care of their much older parents.
Mhm.
Those older parents are also responsible for taking care of their young grandparents. You might have a grandma who's 75 to 85 years old, and maybe it's her responsibility to do all the preschool drop offs and pickups. I've heard of this. And to spend a few hours, 5 days a week, doing dinner, bath time, whatever it is. And possibly we don't think about this as millennials, but maybe, our parents by that age, we're not doing enough foresight and planning to think, okay, so what if my mom has chronic back issues? What if there's a slip and a fall when she's watching my child at home while I'm finishing up my workday? Back in the day, if you're working outside of the home, 9 to 5. The moms I spoke to, because they're in the C-suite, right? So they're not entry-level workers. They're CEOs, CFOs, CMOs. They're expected to be at their office at 7 in the morning. They
Mhm.
are done with work by 6.
Mhm.
So it's just like what you talk about in a lot of your podcast episodes, Jamie, where if you're done with work by 6, you're coming home at 6:30. What time is dinner happening for toddlers when we know that they thrive off of a
Yeah.
3 to 4 p.m. dinner? So I would,
Yeah, but
it's funny.
okay, let's
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
just pause there because there's like already a lot
a
to dig
lot. Yeah, yeah.
into. So, I think one of the greatest bill of goods we were sold is wait till you are settled financially
Yes.
to have kids. And I get it. Like, and again, I don't know that this is cultural and this is a rebound. So when we have this conversation, I feel like very few people bring up the kind of situation I was in with a mom who had no money. Like,
Mm,
so I, as a kid, was like, fuck off to fucktown. I am getting a job. Like, no
yeah.
one's going to be in charge of my finances because my mother got screwed. I got screwed as a kid
Yep.
because my father held the purse strings and he did the typical old guy thing in divorce, which is like any money went that he had to give my mother, like she was spending it on lipstick or something. Like, no, she was
Yeah.
trying to get heat in the house. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. So we don't talk about that first wave of kids who got divorced, the moms got screwed. And so
Mm-hmm.
we came out saying, yes, I need to make money. But the thing is that you are never ready to have a kid. First of all, never. I don't care how old you get. And this is a problem, Kat. And I sound so archaic, but like more and more I'm like, no, have your babies when you're 23.
Yeah.
When now I think that's so young because we've infantilized kids. Don't get me started on that. But the reality is, if you want grandparents that are going to take part, if you want that's part of the village. We all used to
Yeah.
have kids in our early 20s, and so
Yes.
everybody, you'd go to the playground, everybody was your age, everybody, cousins, siblings. My Pascal's cousins are 10 years older because I was a geriatric mom. I was 38 when I had him. Now that was by accident. I just got knocked up. That was like that was not planned, and I certainly was not settled in my career. So, but I think what people aren't looking at too, first of all, I fucking hate Mel Robbins, but I could slap her. Somebody forwarded me an episode about, like, don't worry about it. In your 20s, you should just be having fun. 30s, you might get settled. Literally, Mel Robbins says this. She's going through decades and she's like, don't worry about it. Freeze your eggs. Freeze your eggs when
Oh,
you're 30. Wait, wait,
no.
wait, wait. It gets better. No, no, no. Freeze your eggs now in your 40s. Yeah, have one of those babies at 45. Then she talks about turning 50 and menopause. And she goes, this is you time. This is you. You should be at the top of your career. And I was like, Mel Robbins, you're not making any fucking sense.
Yeah,
Because how's somebody going to have me time at the top of their career when you're having babies? And I'm
that's
not doubting, like,
hilarious.
any mom who's an older mom, I'm just saying we have to look at this culturally, because now one of the things that's making menopause so hard, never before in our history have we had women in so much pain in perimenopause, and 90% of that is stress.
Mhm.
Cortisol affects your hormones extremely much, extremely a lot. And so these women are active parenting, and being a parent is stressful. They're active parenting, they're in the C-suite, they're in the corporate world. So now you're burning the candle at both ends when it should be me time, when
Yep.
you should go into the cave of menopause, which is like, yes, I get time now, I get freedom. And you don't have that, and that is what's making menopausal symptoms worse. Because maybe my grandmother went through the change like no problem, because all of her kids had their own house and their own kids. She got to be grandma. She had a candy drawer for the kids. She got to have fun with the kids. She was not active parenting.
Yep.
So I think this is a bigger deal than we realize. And societally, again, I know people are doing IVF. I know people are struggling with fertility. I'm not questioning anyone's one choice. I'm just saying we have to look at this and say, this is part of the problem. Also, dude, you get tired as you age. Like,
I'm
you
already
don't,
tired. I'm
yeah, it's
35.
crazy. So I noticed one thing, like my stepsister, she had her kids all back to back pretty young, and she handled it with grace because
Mm,
she didn't go to therapy. She didn't know how fucked up she could make those kids. Like, I pathologized every
that's
breath.
so
I was in
funny.
social work, I was at 20 years of therapy. I was like, oh,
They made a
his
pee.
self-esteem, everything was like I had to worry about. Don't do that. Have them when you're young and you're clueless, and then you just have more fun.
It's actually so true. My mom had me at 25. My dad was 6 years older than her. My parents did split when I was 10, but they had a good 13-year run. Yeah, the divorce was ugly. 20 years later, now they're amicable. It's crazy how things come full turn. But um, I will say this, like the pendulum really swung from 1950s housewife, nothing wrong with that, to boss babe CEO, works 12 hours a day outside of the home, wonders why she's having trouble connecting with her kid when she's exhausted and he's exhausted after a full day of daycare. And she's pushing 50.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's what I propose as the happy medium. And I actually got this idea from my mom. And I had a conversation with Elena Bridgers of
But
Motherhood
wait, go
Until
back a little
Yesterday.
bit.
Oh,
So
yeah.
say more about the workshop, because I
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of cut
yeah.
you off there, because what you had told me before too is like, schedule's getting way out of whack, right?
Oh, my
Because if you're
gosh.
coming home at 6, dinner's not on the table till 6, 7:30, then bedtime is 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock
Uh-huh.
for a toddler. Now that same CEO has to be in work by 7. So what time is this kid going to daycare?
Okay, it gets wilder. All
No,
right,
no, no, because
so,
I have clients who have kids in daycare from 7 to 7,
uh-huh.
7 to
So
7.
in this particular instance, fortunately for the mom of this woman, so the kid's grandma, who by the way was again 75, and this is from the mom, 75 and not physically well, not like a youthful, sprightly
Right.
75. We're talking the typical back pain, hurts to walk, can't really bend down. I'm sorry, but yes, of course it's preferable to have family versus strangers watch your kid. I'm a fan of that. However, we never took into account what if the family is, almost octogenarian and can't bend down. I can't tell you how many times I'm bending down like a million times a day with my young toddlers. And what if, God forbid, there is a slip and fall? And mom isn't home for 4 more hours. So what happens is the daycare drop off is like before 8 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
All the meals are at daycare.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a snacky snack. Grandma is picking up the kid probably to save money so the kid isn't at daycare all day.
Mm-hmm.
Then grandma and this child are hanging out at home,
Mm-hmm.
not having dinner though. And I'll get to that. This is fascinating. Hanging out at home, but grandma is not well, doesn't feel comfortable, doing a bath or that much. So really just hanging out. Um, so what I oh, and then mom and dad from their separate work, they come home at around 7. Dinner is rushed to be put on the table at 7:30. Then the
Mm-hmm.
kid has the zoomies. It looks like they're wired, right? So
Wired.
they're
They're
overtired.
overtired.
And I explained the overtired. Um, she wasn't aware. And in all fairness, I didn't know about that either. I wasn't taught about overtired. I didn't know. It does look like they're wide awake. I learned about this from you. So now I'm spreading the word to my friends and to my clients. So yeah, then it's overtired. So I said, I have a proposal, Mom. Can you do a crock pot meal before you have to leave for work in the morning? So yes, it will be early. Can you get up earlier? Throw in a chicken in the crock pot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have your mom, because I was like, what time is your mom picking up your son? 3 or 4 o'clock. Perfect. So then all your mom has to do is scoop out the contents of the crock pot, right? And give it
Mm-hmm.
to your son by 4:30. She said, that part won't work. And here's why. I don't trust my mom with the crock pot. I'm worried about that. Okay. But she said, moreover, I cannot start a crock pot meal in the morning because I have to be at work at 7. And by the way, with all the women at the workshop, that was the general consensus is this is what's getting in the way, Jamie. I know you'll appreciate this because you're doing mothers coaching. They cannot, not they won't, they cannot do the crock pot meal because they have to be at work too early. Let's take it back to way back when moms were, if you're just working outside of the home, you're working 9 to 5. But now we're working 7 to 6. Why? We want little worker bees. We want more efficiency, more productivity. We need more revenue at the company. So we're going to exploit mothers. Let's
Mm-hmm.
exploit mothers because we know mothers won't say no.
I don't think it's exploit. I think it's exploit whoever's working.
Yeah, whoever. Yeah, let's
I don't think
exploit all the
mothers are being
workers.
targeted by the
Yeah,
exploitation.
that's true. Capitalism, takes everyone. So
But wait,
then,
can we back
yeah,
up too?
yeah,
It's like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
family is great, but if you can't trust a person with a crock pot, but that person's in charge of a chaotic toddler,
We have a
so
problem.
I can only imagine screen time's being utilized because what is a now the other thing about grandparents I think I want to back this up a little too because of the myth of the village and grandparents. And
Yeah,
certainly we see online, we get spoiled because we see people with family compounds. I
oh,
can't,
yeah.
I cannot wait to be a grandmother. I'm going to try, I have to find babies. My kid's only 19. Like I need to
It's so
find babies
funny.
to hold. Like I am totally in my grandma
Just
era.
come over here. Help out my mom.
Seriously. And so I just but my mom was an amazing grandmother, but
Mm,
she was still working. And but she would take Pascal whenever she could. She loved him. It was like she and my stepdad were just amazing to
mm,
all the grandkids. And but my mom, at 50 years old, woke up paralyzed one day. She didn't know she had rheumatoid arthritis, suddenly flared. She couldn't move her body. So
my
then my
God.
mom couldn't work. And from there, her health started to decline. You are not guaranteed a healthy grandparent. Now, my mother at 75 she died at 77. She was
Mm,
medically fragile, an amazing grandmother when she was there, but she also was not. She wasn't up with the sick baby. She wasn't making my dinners. She wasn't picking him up from school. She was not doing any of those things. And so I think we have this idealized version of somebody should help, or the grandparents. Yeah, the grandparents might be active in your
yes.
life and be there to give you a break for sure, but number one, their health is not guaranteed. Number two, they may still be working. A lot of people are saying we're the Gen X parents showing up for the millennial kids, and I'm like, we're all working.
It's so funny.
No Gen X's are out of the workforce yet, so that's
No,
not
we're not that
happening.
old, you guys. Yeah.
So it's this weird, I think we have this glossed over image too. Like,
Oh,
I'm going to actually do something on social media. Like, what are you actually envisioning? Because people think the village shows up on white horses to do your bidding when you want. No, the rest of the world is working too,
it's
right?
so true. Yeah, and it can be a really rude awakening. Somehow, we millennials have come to assume that, especially if we don't want our kids in any sort of school for the first 5 years, which, trust me, I get too, for a lot of schools out there. So we're like, oh, great, my village, my grandparents and my husband's grandparents are right here. So they will be the preschool. And I am seeing such a trend, Jamie, for better or for worse, take what you will, where grandparents have become the full time, part time preschool.
Yeah.
Yeah. For real. Like, I'm talking all
I,
day.
and I think that is killer if you have someone like me who's
Yes.
active, can't wait to be on the floor, go out. I want to be outside.
Yes.
I want to be at the ocean. I work remotely, so I can fit this into my schedule. I homeschooled. I know what's hip hop happening in the curriculum
Yes.
world and what they
You are
need to learn.
fit.
Right. When if you have someone like me, but I'm rare. I'm
Yes.
rare, because of my work situation, and I think that expectation is wild to me.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how or why that we thought it would be this way. I so agree with you. There's a big difference between the young, sprightly, fit, limber grandma,
Mhm.
um, you have to be physically active to look after
That's
these
the
young kids,
thing. Right.
versus the chronically ill, in chronic pain grandparent who cannot walk. You know the TV is going to be the babysitter half the day. And is
Right.
that actually better for kids than them being in a very good quality forest school or preschool? I'm not talking all day. Like, yeah, my son goes to a preschool for four
I would
hours a
venture to
day.
say a mediocre daycare would be better than putting your child with somebody who isn't able to get up off the floor, because
Correct.
toddlers alone, we don't know what they're going to get into. But now we got a 75 to 80-year-old who's unstable. You got two unstable people in the house.
Oh yeah.
You
So
know what I
so
mean?
so let's bring that back, that exact point back to, okay, so why is parenting harder now? Yeah, it is partially optics and perception and snowflake mentality, but partially we somehow got ourselves into this conundrum, elder millennials, where we are simultaneously caretakers for our chronically ill parents, not me, but I'm talking about as a whole, and for the toddlers, and in 5 to 10 years going through menopause, so probably also going through perimenopause right now, and you're trying to juggle your boss babe career working 10 hours outside of the home. Something's got to give here. I'm talking something major. Minimum, like one big factor lifestyle wise has to change, or all of them. I say right now is the best time to figure out, how do I want to pivot in my career? Because like there, you can
I
literally
think,
do
let's back it
anything.
up, because I think the
Yeah.
solution, you said this earlier and I wrote it down. I think the problem is we need to reframe just a mother.
Oh
You're
yeah.
just a mother. You're just a stay at home mom. Because the reality is, and I've talked about this a lot on the podcast, is raising a child is a full-time job. Whether or not
Hmm.
you're doing it full-time, it's still, you come home to a full-time job. Keeping a home active and running with schedules, with laundry, with meals, with all the players involved, maybe even your paid village, that is a full-time job.
Yeah.
So you're going to take your more than full-time job and come home to another full-time job. And I think that's where kids are getting the shaft, because the kids are the ones suffering. The kids are the
Hmm.
ones that are getting you all burnt out. Now listen, I also think that we got it confused. This is a sticky topic and it's really individual, but the idea that your identity hangs on your work,
Oh yeah.
and your identity, like you hear it from moms, I'd be so bored with my kids, I'm a better mom because I go to work. And I hear that. And I would venture to say though, like Erica,
Oh,
who is it,
commissar.
Commissar, she gets so much heat online, but she talks about the first 3 years. Like, what can you do for the first 3 years? It's not always going to be like this,
Yeah.
but that is when your child needs you the most. But that is also when you need more rest. You need more connection with your child. And so I think we've just gotten it in our brains that motherhood is boring. And yeah, when you stay home with the kid, trust me, they're like, oh, my 2 year old's my best friend. Shut up. They can't even make a sentence yet. Like, they're not your best friend. You're not having a conversation with them, right?
So
And
funny.
I know a lot of mothers, I think that's where mommy wine culture started getting crazy, right? Is
Uh-huh.
like it your kid's not really, they're of course they're beautiful, their milestones are amazing, but
They're the
they're
best.
not, you're not having good dialogue all day.
Yeah.
But I
Mommy,
also
let's do
think,
poop jokes.
but that's where we get people. I have moms who don't have any time to cultivate a village.
Yeah.
But when you do have a little more time at home, whether it's a part-time, something you can figure out in your office, can you be out of work earlier? Can you
Yeah.
go in a little later? And that's, lately I've been doing a lot of like parent coaching parents come to me with kids with behavioral problems, and I look at their schedule and I said, no, we got to figure out your schedule. It's your
Yeah.
fucking schedule. That's the problem.
The behavior is the symptom. The
The
underlying
symptom
problem
of
is
the
the lifestyle
connection.
you
Right.
chose. Right.
And so we look at, I mean, I'm literally helping people look at their finances, who can maybe come home earlier, who cannot, who can, are you gonna, one mom and I, we work through, like, should she take this promotion? And she's, she had the ability to take it on trial, took it on
Mm-hmm.
trial. She said, no, can't do it. Too much. No, I'm not
Good.
available for my kids, and so we have to look at that, because if we continue, and I'm not telling you how to live your life, but if we continue down this track, the behaviors you're seeing
Yeah.
in your kids are because they're lacking connection. The
Yeah.
behavior, we are seeing 5 and 6 year olds go to school not potty trained because parents don't have time for major developmental milestones. They
Yeah.
don't have time to hold boundaries. They don't have time to learn how to co-regulate with their kid because everything is rushed. Now, and I, like, me, I've been a huge proponent of this. I don't care. Your family dinner means shit if you are coming home at 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Your toddler has needs that surpass your needs. So you think I need family dinner? No. No, 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 no. You need connection with your kid. They should have a sandwich, a turkey
Yeah.
sandwich. I don't care if it's on white bread. I don't care if it's with American processed cheese. Give them a sandwich and wrestle with them. Read 8
Yes.
stories, sing the songs, play the games, and then they go to bed at 7. Toddlers going to bed at 10 o'clock is asinine. To wake
Yeah.
up early, to go into a social setting, right? It's crazy that now we have these kids, and now parents come to me, I think she's got a diagnosis. Yeah, her diagnosis is you're busy. And
Yeah.
it's
She's
again, it's
exhausted.
and I'm not blaming them. I'm not blaming any one person. It's this cultural thing
Yeah,
that
it
we've
is
got.
culture. So, okay, you said a lot of interesting things
Sorry.
there. Yeah, no, no, I mean, I'm nodding along because I'm like, oh, this
It's
is so
a
good.
circular conversation because I know there's like, ugh, it's so hard.
Yes. And so, what's happening too is when moms, I too wish that I actually had my kids in my 20s. I wasn't with the right people. I was like a serial monogamous committed relationship person, wasn't with the right people. Admittedly, I did some cool solo travel like to Japan and Bali, and I did a lot. Um, but I knew deep down I always wanted to be a mom. And yet, like when I was growing up, just being a mom was very much like you're either uber religious, of like any religion, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter, or like, I don't know, not smart enough, right? Like, oh, you don't have ambition or potential. Looking back, like, that's just so ridiculous. Such good work happens at home. And let me tell you what I think the real new paradigm is in motherhood, and where a lot of my peers are learning this the hard way. It's not like doing nothing for years and years. Not that we ever do nothing, we're doing so much. It's not just having no identity outside of motherhood. That's what I mean. And it's also not boss babe. It's definitely should not be boss babe.
Right.
Now, someone's going to say, but someone has to do the CEO job. But do you have to do it, like you said, in the first 3 years? So here's the missing piece. Okay, here's the happy medium. Then I'm going to tell you what I think is missing from the conversation.
Okay.
The happy medium, I think, is, for me, I do like finding some purpose and identity in addition to motherhood. Motherhood is completely fulfilling. I like having a little something on my own. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy doing my podcast, Moms Off the
Mm-hmm.
Record. I enjoy potty training. So it's like, how can we find that balance? And it's not about striving for 6 figures right now. It's about just a little bit of fun money. Like, can we like go out to dinner, like do this vacation? It's fun money, making your own schedule, just working a few hours per week,
Mm-hmm.
not several hours per day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Here's why this is like an uncomfortable subject, is because I think moms, we had too many options at our disposal. Like, you can be whomever, push those glass ceilings, girls.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
can do whatever. It's like going to a restaurant at IHOP, and you see there's a million things to eat. Now we're overwhelmed. It's like,
Right.
it's
Trip
too good,
paralysis. Right.
Okay, so really, no professor in college, like no parent right now, but we can start this. I'm going to start having this conversation with my daughter when she's much older. Is like, hey, there's going to be certain career paths. Like, if you are going to college and that's costing 6 figures, which my kids will not be doing that, so I'm excited. You're going to be graduating with 6 figures of student loan debt. And now you're going to feel maybe pigeonholed in a very specific career, potentially. And it might take you years and years and years until you can make your income potential. And then you're going to think, I'm not capable of having kids right now. The real new paradigm is college is a scam, I
Mhm.
think. My kids will be either paying for their own college completely, or in Sweden, it's free, taxpayer
Mhm.
subsidized, or don't go to college. Just figure out your career without college. I think what's happening is moms have a lot of guilt. Their parents helped them pay their way into college. They took out student loans. Now they're like, well, I spent all these years and, six figures getting my degree. So now I am locked in. I have to do this for at least a few years. And then they have to pay down their debt, right? This is how we get, and then also I have to have a big house. My kids won't be happy in a small house. I have to have multiple cars. I left a six-figure salary behind right before my son was born. I was making six figures year over year for
Mhm.
nearly 10 years, starting in my early 20s. My manager, his jaw was on the floor when I resigned before my maternity leave kicked in, because I
Yep.
thought to myself, so this company is going to give me 12 weeks of leave, and they want me to go back to this job like nothing ever happened in my motherhood journey at 12 weeks postpartum. I said to my husband, I was like, we both make six figures. We work from home. I mean, yeah, this I like this job. I'm not like, but it's not my identity. I am more than
Right.
this career. It's
Right.
my worth, my value to our family is more than this job. This job is just a title. Like this is a matrix. And I was like,
Well, it goes back to the
you know,
saying too that you often see online, I feel like, which is, first of all, no one on their deathbed,
mm-hmm,
no one says I should have worked more.
mm-hmm,
No one, your company can fire you on a moment's notice, not give you a severance, and
mm-hmm.
walk over your dead body, not care. Right. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I think these are the things that we have to look at. And I think we get so swamped. I think what happens is we're sold this cultural bill of goods that is in our unconscious. Nobody sets out and is like, oh, I can't wait to be totally fucked as a mom. Like I cannot wait till I don't know what to do with myself. I'm so busy. We get the career, we wait to have kids, we do this, and then no, you don't understand the clusterfuck of early motherhood,
Yeah.
and you just don't listen. We talked about this, like throwing out the boomer wisdom with the bullshit bathwater. We just like we don't want to listen. We think it'll be different for us, and so then we don't know, and you just keep making the next decision. And I had done a podcast on this, on what shit sandwich do you want to eat, because we all have a shit sandwich, and the moms I know that currently stay home have made
Yes.
enormous sacrifices to be there. And I think that it's easy to look and say, oh, they have it so easy, but you have to make hard decisions, and one of the hard decisions is, how big is your house?
Uh-huh.
Do you need this space? One of the things I was shocked at when I moved back to Rhode Island, I had a flat that was 2,500 square feet. Pascal and I needed
Wow.
500 of that. And now
Yes.
you need more shit to fill it. You can put broken shit in another room and ignore it. Like, you just don't, it's wild. And now our house is 700 square feet. I love
I
it.
love it.
It
Yeah.
takes me 2 seconds to clean. My electric bill's $40. Like, you don't even, because there's one light bulb in every room. That's it. And so
Yeah.
I think we don't realize we do this keep up with the Joneses without realizing we're doing it. We know, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not just keeping up, but we are. And how many kids? I just said this on another thing. We had one car,
Yeah.
Honda Civic, 5 people. A Honda Civic
Sounds great.
makes a Mini Cooper look like a limousine. And
Yeah.
now I have a cousin who has a Yukon, and she said it's still not big enough. They still fight. And I was like, we had a Honda Civic.
Yeah. My mom had a station wagon
It's
growing up.
crazy. So it's like, you do have to look at your life choices. Do you actually need two incomes? Because when we start scaling everything back, and I have a friend who says, I work, like, she's all about this. I work
Yeah.
so I can travel with my kids. She doesn't travel with her kids. She doesn't travel. And I'm like,
Right.
wow, you're in a certain cognitive dissonance there. But all these things that we think we're giving our kids, when all our kids want is us.
So
That's
true.
what they really want, especially in those early years. And I do think that I don't know. Like, I can't tell, because again, I always said I wanted to be a mom, right? And so I can't
Yeah.
claim to know another woman's experience, but somehow I feel like we got tricked into needing another identity. And that's definitely like I said that in all my books is my mother never worried about her identity. She had kids, she's a mom now. And it wasn't a just, she was a housewife, which was acceptable at the time. And somehow we've let that infiltrate us. And maybe you do need to feel more fulfilled with a job, but how can you then rearrange things so that you do have that time with your little
Okay.
ones, the little
S-
ones?
some thoughts. I remember growing up, there's a lot of even board books for babies. It's all about like, who are you going to be when you grow up? And it's like a little cartoon, an astronaut. Can you imagine
Right.
like a mom, 12 weeks postpartum going back?
Yeah, yeah.
Back to space.
Back to space. Yeah. To the moon.
Yeah, exactly. Be an astronaut, be a doctor, a lawyer. We are programming baby girls as young as 1 year old that, oh, okay, so I'm going to pick this title. Like, this is going to be me. I am the astronaut.
Right.
It's not like, who are you going to be? A mother. You never see that in books. It's not like,
Yeah,
I'm going to be a
yeah.
mother. Forget about that. Why? Let's bring it back to the top. The overlords. The World Economic Forum has a gender equality agenda. This is no secret. Some gender equality makes a lot of sense. Of course, women should have their own bank accounts and credit cards. Of course, women should have the right to vote. But when everything boils down to gender equality, we're like, husbands should do the exact same duties and responsibilities as wives, and it's always that way, never like the other way. I just always like to ask, like, okay, so do we need more women who are garbage truck drivers? There's nothing wrong with that. But do we need more women, more mothers who are driving semi trucks across the country who are only home for 1 day a month? There's a reason why, like in the child rearing years, there's just a reason why there's some men who do some roles and some women who do other roles. There's nothing wrong
Right,
with that.
right, right.
There's really nothing wrong with that. So we have an issue with the gender equality agenda. And then also, again, there's a piece missing from the conversation. Parents have not been informing their daughters. This is daughter specific. Parents have not been informed. Teachers don't talk about this in school. It's taboo. There's no more home economics courses. That is considered like regressive. That is bad.
Yeah,
Because
but now we
what,
have 25-year-olds who don't know how to roast a chicken.
or do laundry. Yep. But
Like, yeah.
it's interesting how that used to be in the school, those conversations. Now it's like you're going to have to figure it out as you go. But when I was at NYU, I wasn't thinking like, okay, so with whatever career path I choose, then fast forward, 20 years or whatever. It seems like it's so far in the future. So how am I going to be home early enough, to be with my kids? But going back to, this was radical that I chose not to take a maternity leave, which was a part of my benefits package. I want to quickly go into why it is important. It says in the contract at most corporate companies in America, especially if you're an at-will employee, that your company does have the right to revoke the money that they gave you during your maternity leave if you quit right after you take it. Because, of course, they see it as like fraud. Oh, so you took it. You had no intent to come back.
Gotcha. Yeah,
I
yeah.
already knew I didn't want to come back, and I don't want to do anything unethical. So everyone's like, just take it and quit. Everyone told me that. And I said, no, it's not the right thing to do. I make great money as it is. I am happy to walk away a free woman, truly a free woman. I don't want to be in golden shackles anymore. I'm
Mm-hmm.
done.
Mm-hmm.
My boss was like, wait, what? Like, do you want a raise? I'm like, "No, you couldn't pay me $1 million." And I think that's what it boils down to. There's some moms who are like, you can't pay me $1 million to go back to this company
Mm-hmm.
because motherhood is more important to me. And other moms who are like, yeah, I'll take that 5K bump. We need to ask at what cost.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about outsourcing everything. We cannot just live parallel lives with our kids. I know of a family in the neighborhood where there's 3 nannies who work full time around the clock, including on the weekends when both parents are at home. 3 kids. And I've maybe seen the parents with their kids for 5 minutes in the last year. Otherwise, it's the nannies.
Mm-hmm.
When the kids, so there's one parent who's doing a school pickup, dropping off the kids at home, going back to work. Okay, nanny's there. Nanny's taking the kids to the pool, all the activities back to back, putting the kids to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my husband and I talk about like, even if we were both working full time outside of the home, we would not want to live parallel lives to our kids. Don't you have the kids because you want to be with them at some point? I don't want to just see my kids for 2 minutes a day.
I think it becomes a tail eating snake. I think so. My experience, and you guys, I kind of want to separate this out too, because we're actually talking about upper, not even middle class, like pretty up, middle to upper class.
Right.
And so I'm not talking about the working poor. This was not my reality growing up. This was not my mother's reality. This was not my motherhood reality. I had to work to pay rent. That's like that, you
Yeah.
know? So I think what I see is I would think everybody wants to spend time with their kids, but it becomes something else. So here around here, and I hear this from friends who are in wealthier neighborhoods than me, which is the kids are all in activities because the parents can't handle it. And the parents will literally say, no, 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 I can't handle, like, they need to be in sports. They need to be in here. I can't take care of them when they're bored or complaining. And so I think that's what happens is you end up living a parallel life because you come home, you're exhausted, you're disconnected from your kid, you haven't maybe regulated. It's hard. It's hard to go from a job, a high pressure job, to a high pressure situation. Now you come home at 6 o'clock, you're in the witching hour. Your kid's at their absolute fucking worst.
Oh, yeah.
And that was one of the reasons, like, I actually pulled Pascal to homeschool is I was like, what the hell is this? I'm getting the fried version of him.
Hmm.
No, I want the good hours. And
Yeah.
so I think I think it's something we have to consider, right? And obviously, like I've always said, listen, if you have to work to make ends meet, great. If you can figure out, do we actually need two incomes? Could we scale back in big ways, in big options, right? Big choices that we make. Does this have to look like this? But if you have to work and you're skidding in at 6 o'clock, like then it, like I said earlier, it has to be all connection. It can't
Yes.
be, you don't have the luxury of other classes. And I mean, you can farm it out, but then you're disconnected from your kid, and that's where we see behavioral problems.
Absolutely. And really, I think that the secret is how can we moms, we millennial moms, get so creative? And how can we start this new trend and pass this along to our daughters, where we're just brutally honest with them about what are the first few years going to look like when you decide to become a mom, the pros and cons of waiting till you're older versus having kids younger.
Hmm.
There are pros and cons to each. How much money do you really need? For some reason, I always thought like, I heard as a New York City girl, having kids is so expensive. Like it's just costs so much. And that's why like all my, New York City friends were intentionally waiting till their 40s.
Yeah.
That comes with a whole other list of issues. But basically, I talked to my mom about it, who had me at 25 in 1990 in New York City, in Queens, not Manhattan, very humble, and in Forest Hills. And I was like, is it really that expensive? Why do people say it's so expensive? Do I need to save hundreds of thousands of dollars before my husband and I ever have kids? She said, no, it's only expensive if you make it that way. She said, you guys lived in, you know, modest apartments with us. We didn't like have a home until you were
Hmm.
5 years old. We moved to Connecticut. You lived in apartments. You have fun at playgrounds like every day. Either your grandparents or I were taking you to the parks, to playgrounds, you're walking around. Like, it's nothing crazy. You don't have to do these crazy international trips, like if you want to and you have the money, sure, but it's very simple. It's like, I don't know. So there is a lot of, like, we have to talk about, there's a lot of misconceptions, lies that were being told. But then I asked on the other side, like, as I was hearing my peers saying, like, it is so expensive. And I'm like, what are the biggest costs associated with having these kids? Well, you have to be on the wait list for school. You could be on the wait list for 5 years, and like their school when they're 3 years old is $30,000 to $60,000 a year. I just laughed. I was like, oh, so that's why you think it's expensive.
I think well, that's the myth. I mean, and you guys can Google this. It's actually a thing. The myth of dual income is a big thing. And it is, it's that lifestyle creep. But now you also, and I admire, of course, we want to give our kids the best, but we have to remember the best for our kids is actually us.
Yeah.
And so we just think that the best is an external thing that like we can buy, and it's in the school and it's in this and it's in that. And what cracks me up is these like really expensive preschools, your kids got to be wiping their butt done potty training. And so the same
Uh-huh.
people who don't have time because their schedules are rushed, you're going to pay $30,000, $40,000 a year. You better have that butt wiping down. So
Uh-huh.
I think it's just I think it comes back to like, how do we lower, it just feels like it's ramping up to an impossible speed right now, and the it is as expensive as you make it, you know. um I do think kids, you know, obviously everything's more expensive, but again, in my lineage lifetime, we had war where there
Yeah,
were rations, you know. So I always think like what are we complaining about? I don't, it's, yeah, I feel like it's
yeah.
it's so messy.
Somehow, Jamie, you're not going to believe this, but I told you I left behind a six-figure career literally 2 months before my son was born. So this was almost 4 years ago. I have not been in the workforce. Yes, I have my podcast. I'm a potty training consultant. Right now, that's not coming anywhere near what I used to be
Right,
making.
right.
And also, that's not my goal. I do this because it's fun. I enjoy it. And yeah, like it's like fun money, but I'm not doing it to try to replace a six-figure income. It's a
Right, right,
little
right.
something for me on the side. Now, my husband and I together, we actually have more net worth than we did when we were making dual six income. You know
Mhm,
why? Our expenses are way down because when you go on one income, you become more fiscally conservative and aware.
mhm.
We have one car that we own. It is 7 years old. It has over 50,000 miles on it. I could give two shits what make or model car I have. I care about one thing. Does it get me from point A to point B safely? That's all. I just don't
Yeah.
want it to break down constantly. I know people who need to have the newest make and model. They need a Tesla. They need at least two cars because now all the kids, they have multiple kids, they're in all different schools and activities. I
Sure,
know one
yeah.
family, three kids, three different school drop offs and pickups. That in itself is a full time job. Three different
Right.
school drop offs and pickups. We are overcomplicating things and we're making things more expensive than they need to be. I have never been happier. When you have fewer expenses, you actually you're liberated. Like you have less stress. If you're less stressed, you can be a better mom to your kids.
Yeah, I think too, like, you have more time for being, being out on the playground, meeting other moms with kids your own age. I mean, I think people are really struggling with the village because they've created a really individualized life that doesn't allow for much time. Yeah.
Yes, it's a lot of rushing around
Yeah.
playing chauffeur. So I know we could talk for hours and
I
hours. I
know.
mean,
I
I'm
think it's
loving
just like,
this.
I love it too, and I feel like it's like, and I don't want to leave on a bitchy note, like, oh, it's all this, because it's a societal problem. It's not any one
No.
person's choice, but I think it is that, like, really looking ahead. And I really, through this conversation, I think part of it is like just a mom, or not recognizing that it in my work, in my parent coaching especially, and a lot of the potty training work, is I couldn't quite figure out. Everybody's like, fix my kid, fix my kid. I was like, we never fix the kid. It's not the kid. The 3-year-old doesn't need fixing. It's the environment. And so then when we look at the environment, it's so jam packed. And so I think just more spreading the word of like, kids just don't do what you want them to do when you want them
Yeah.
to do it.
Right.
They're volatile, and they're going to be more volatile when they're craving connection. So if they haven't seen you all day, you, again, no activities. But I said this in one of my podcasts recently, because I understand. Oh, I said it with you, but I said it in another
Yeah.
one about like a sports, especially being low activity, because it feels like, oh, I'm on top of it. I signed my kid up for the thing, but you don't have to do it. And I remember feeling that way, like, whew, I got an hour to myself here because somebody else is in charge. But that's okay, but not if you're like not with your kid all day for 12 hours, and
Yeah. Yeah. If
yeah.
you're with your kid all day long and then they're in the activity for 1 hour, that's no skin off of anyone's
Yeah.
back. That's a nice break for maybe the both of you, probably.
So, and I think this conversation, one of the things that just makes it so sticky is women do need to make money because they have been burnt out, and burnt by a shitty choice, and that
Yes.
they weren't aware was going to happen. I think moms have historically gotten screwed, so they do need to make money, and they do, we do get to be things other than moms, but
Yes.
like a whole identity. I don't know. I think these are just questions you have to ask yourself. Honestly, nobody, I think both of us could have maybe sounded judgmental in this, but I think it's just something that you have to question yourself honestly, is this worth it? Is this worth it right now? And their seasons of motherhood are so different. Like when your kid's little, it's so different than even, when they're 6 to 12, and then teenagers, they need you in a different way. So I don't know, it's if you're feeling crushed by the weight of it, I also think at the beginning of this podcast, you said something about mothers being, they're targeting mothers as worker bees. I have honestly come to the conclusion that, okay, so here's my big conspiracy theory. I think they
Yeah.
are trying to make mothers more tired because we're the ones who would
Mm,
fight the hardest, right? We're the ones who literally could take a car off our kids if we needed to, right?
yes.
So, I mean, we looked at the Epstein files and we're like, just put some fucking moms on it. Give us some
Mhm.
names. Just
Yeah.
look away. We'll take care of it,
Yeah.
And I think the way the Epstein files were released when mass traumatization, and who did it affect the most? Moms.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? This is, if you're exhausted, I feel like one of the biggest rebellions we can do, and I'm not saying everybody mom has to be a stay-at-home mom by any stretch,
Sure.
but is if we slow down and get out of this corporate bullshit,
Yes.
get out of the kids are so expensive because you're paying for all this stuff,
Yeah.
I think that's the way out. I call it a kitchen rebellion too. Like the best thing you can do is feed your kid healthy. That is a fucking
Yes.
rebellion. You getting enough sleep at night and saying, hey, I'm a well-rested mom, you are an outlier, right?
Yes. It for me, the rebellion, like even beyond that, and I love that, is just get out of the golden shackles of the 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. corporate life. How much you make no longer has to be tied to how many hours you're putting in.
Right.
Work smarter, not harder. Harder to do if somebody else is your boss. I get it. I was there for nearly a decade in
Yeah.
the corporate world. Again, we like the world is our oyster right now when it comes to money making opportunities. Is there a way you can figure out either online or in person or both how to make money on your own terms, your own time? This is a question I want to ask your mom listeners. Right now, with the money that you're making, if you have this full time job, how much of it is what you'd like to have versus what you need to have? Okay. That's the
I
big
think that's the
question.
bigger question is, can you
Okay.
ask yourself, because one thing I hear, you don't understand, I have to. And so if you
Hmm.
look at all your have tos and really examine those, and I can't, again, I can't decide this for anybody. It's you, it's your life. But if you're being crushed, you may have to work for income. Does it have to be
Yes.
this job? Does it have to be this particular income? And I think that's the big thing, is one thing I try to tell parents is like, I can't stop it. If you need the income, I can't do anything about that. I can guarantee that your kids also need you though, and I can't make them not need you less. So you have to show up and be a parent too. So what does
Yes.
that look like? And when I always just like to reverse engineer a problem, you take your non-negotiables and then you work around those, because
Yep.
everything else is a negotiable. And I think that's where people, maybe millennials, I don't know, maybe Gen X is better at that because we had to like suck up so much, but I feel like people have really confused their have tos with their needs with their wants,
They have. And if you, okay, so if you can't take away the job, what expenses can we take away? Certainly you don't need Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus, Netflix, okay? These are wants, not needs. Do you need two cars? Maybe you do. We don't. We need one car. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to, like, again, I'm not making anybody's choices, but it's like, what do you need? The latest car? Do you need the latest iPhone? Do you need, I feel like Disney Plus. So I'm a bitch about the streaming services. I only will do one at a time, but I feel
Yeah.
like that's a little like, don't have your Starbucks. I think that might be,
Choose one.
yeah, nickel and diming though. I think the
Right.
bigger thing is like, does your kid have to be at that school? Does your kid have to, do you have to work the hours you have to work? You
Very
know?
true.
And then
Yeah,
the
very good point.
houses is crazy. And I mean,
Oh
anytime I
yeah.
watch one of those house hunting programs, like people going in looking at houses are like, well, the master's a little small. And I'm like, what the fuck are you all doing in the master bedroom? Are you putting a
So
sex swing in there? Are you a bar? Like, what's going
probably.
on? Like,
We
a
don't know
bureau, a
nowadays.
bureau, like, and people want a writing nook while y'all are doing calligraphy by the setting sun. Like, I don't understand
Yeah.
this need
Look at
for
me. I mean, I'm podcasting here in my kitchen.
the
Like this is not
huge
aesthetic.
houses, but I don't, I can't make your decisions. I can just say like, hey, are just, you have to examine them closely, because is it serving you? If you're burnt out and overwhelmed, is it serving you? Like, you have to take charge of your own life. That's my big rally
Yes.
cry right now, because I feel like moms just feel like everything is a have to, and so much of it is self-inflicted.
Yeah, moms are so scared of becoming irrelevant if they leave their career behind. I have heard this before. You're never irrelevant in your home. Nobody can replace you in your home. I talked to a couple elder millennial moms who said they're scared to just leave work behind altogether because there's clearly money wounds. They grew up in poverty
Mhm.
and they equate the feeling of safety with going to work full time. That is more important to them than, like, admittedly
I
from
think
them, than
too,
being at
what I
home.
think this might be also generational, in the sense of, you have to have people start dying.
Yeah.
Like, I think with my mom's death, it's like, oh my god, so much is you're not, there's no legacy. There's no
Mm,
legacy. Like, that whole
mhm.
idea of like I'm building something. No, it's just not true. And I was shocked at how quickly Pascal's kids are. She's going to be a boring memory to them. They're
Mm,
gonna be like, "Oh, I know you already told us about your grandmother and how great she was." Like that.
mm.
That she's not gonna be a thing anymore. So you go faster than you think, and I think once people start dying in your life, like the older generation, you start, So maybe everything we're saying is just the folly of youth, that you just have to, like, everybody has to make their mistakes, and then,
Yeah.
I mean, once I realized that, it's really like human connection is the only thing we have, you
It's
know.
so true. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
timeless. Yes.
All right. Well, we'll end on
Wow.
that depressing note. Just wait till everybody starts dying, then you guys will
Yay!
get it.
Until next time, everyone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, like, obviously, we're just trying to unwind this, because I
Yeah.
think these are such things. And so, again, if you're like a corporate mom and you love it and you're not burnt out, and yeah, I think I'm not trying to pass judgment on any person, any situation, but you have to look at it. And your kids are always going to need you, and so,
Yeah.
what can you do to make that happen? Because they can't change your kids'
Yes.
behavior,
No.
when they're craving connection. So
Change the lifestyle first. Oh,
yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
was a good one, Jamie.
All right. I'm actually, like, I get to a certain point where the words don't start, they stop making sense. I just
I
hit
know,
a wall. I
same.
was like, all right, I'm gonna log off. Put your phones down, guys. And thanks for listening. All right. Thanks, Kat.
Thank you.